We have a lot of builds and a lot of projects that are interdependent, and the best way to get dependencies between each project was using ProGet. Before that, it probably was using source control to share binaries or a file share, which is not ideal. So ProGet allows everything to be centralized to share across teams with builds. So with the shift of technologies, our company is going through containers with Docker, and there was a team that went off and did all this extra development work and was kind of encapsulated, and they were doing their own server, Helm Museum and Docker registry, and well, we already use ProGet for an artifact manager. Why can't we just use that for Docker images and for Helm? And we found out that with all the feeds that you offer, Helm wasn't one of them, and we know that is Kubernetes and Docker and all that is becoming more popular on Windows, which is we're a Windows-centric company. So one meeting I was talking to our software architects, and why can't we go to Inedo? It's like we're a paying customer, maybe we can get some functionality, or maybe we can work with them and get a Helm feed. And so I took upon myself to contact Inedo and see, okay, what can we do? And really easy to work with. They were open. I did some research. I was able to use current functionality with the asset directory and say, okay, you already have this functionality. You need about maybe 10% more work to get it to be a Helm feed type. And able to get, with all the talk, they were able to get that into the next release, which is the 5.2 release. They were able to add that requirement to the list of requirements that were already confirmed for the release, and they were able to slip it in and get it out, and it worked really well. I really like using ProGet. It's very central to our organization, and developers use it all the time, and it's embedded, and they use it, it's being used without them even thinking about it. So why not add more functionality? We have a lot of builds and a lot of projects that are interdependent, and the best way to get dependencies between each project was using ProGet. Before that, it probably was using source control to share binaries or a file share, which is not ideal. So ProGet allows everything to be centralized to share across teams with builds. ProGet allows a very good version control, so when people publish packages for a particular build, we know what we're getting when someone needs to grab those packages and know exactly what they're getting. We need to know versioning is very important, so and releases everything is versioned correctly, so we need to have exactly what we want in each release. When we first started using ProGet, it was the single instance database backend method, and when our development teams grew, we noticed that there was latency and there were errors getting packages, and well, how can we mitigate this? And so we decided to look at the load balancing option that ProGet offers on the enterprise level, and was able to convince management to say this is actually a good thing that we want to do. So essentially eliminate downtime between development builds, between our automated builds, between our offsite development team. And once load balancing was in place, we haven't had any complaints about downtime with the server. So it helps really with speeding up our development cycle. Since we do builds essentially all hours of the day, 7 days a week, we need to have the ProGet server up. And with the load balancing option, it has done that. The most popular public feed is the NuGet.org, and we do not want to rely on an external feed or external site to be up 100% of the time, because it's most likely never going to happen. And we've had times in the past where people working remotely get through via VPN when they try to get a package, and it has to go through the connector, which is hooked up to NuGet.org, where it times out. And it's almost, they basically say that we can't work from home because of the timeout issue, no matter how many times we try. So what we do is essentially take the third-party packages and put them on our third-party feed on our local database, and we haven't had that problem anymore. I think Inedo is a very collaborative company. They work well with their customers. I haven't had any problems. Because we use a load balancing environment, a lot of times when you go into the ProGet website, it'll say the service doesn't exist on this, can't find the service running. And I'm like, well, it's not going to be on that instance because we're in a load balancing, there's multiple nodes and everything. So they basically, took some advice saying, we're in a load balancing, the service is not always going to be there. There's an option to actually turn that notification off. Just little things like that. And it goes down the line. There are other examples I can't think of right now, but there are many examples where I've gone through and say, oh yeah, we'll put that in another base. Oh, we'll look at it. And it's very back and forth. There's a very positive experience with that.